Hi, Shelley. Yeah, the sun is shining. I have to take your word for that. I'm in the basement, so I have no way to know. I'm in my bunker here. Want to wait a couple more minutes? I just had to stop the stream and start again because I was going live in the wrong place. Now I have it. I think I have it right. I think. We'll see. Hi, Rocky. Welcome. Yeah. It's a class will start shortly. You're saying correctly. Yes, that's right. I just realized that. Let's see. It's better now. Yes. I don't want the captions to be in the way. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for joining in. Okay, let's go with today's class, Nasso. Very interesting Parsha with lots of repetitions, with all the gifts that the leaders of the tribes brought at the inauguration of the tabernacle in the desert. So it's kind of cool when a bar mitzvah has this parsha and end up reading a lot, and people are so impressed, and then you realize, it's always the same thing. All you have to learn is a bunch of names, and then they all bring the same thing because it's repeated again and again and again. So if you ever get it, it's cool. Hi, Lourdes. Yeah, you are connected. You are connected. I can see your name in the chat. So I don't know why you say you cannot connect. Interesting. Anyway, let's begin. With one of the verses that I want to study today with you for this Parsha, and it's also about the gifts that people have to bring to the priest. Remember, in those days, the temple was relying on donations to function. They didn't have membership dues the way we have it in these days. So they were bringing gifts to the priests, so they will have what to eat, and they will bring also other donations to the sanctuary, so they could buy supplies and things and keep going. Debbie, we said, did Facebook say they were updating today? They did to me. I don't know. Didn't check Facebook updates. So yeah, it's very interesting the way the sanctuary used to work back in the day, and how they were relying on all these donations to function. It's you can see something similar in these days on sometimes evangelical churches, that they encourage people to tithe their income, so they will donate directly to the church 10% of their income so the church can function. They don't have membership dues the way most synagogues have. They rely on this donation that is a percentage calculated from their income, salaries, or whatever money they make. Some Orthodox synagogues operate the same way. They encourage people to bring these gifts to the synagogue, and it is a percentage of your income. And sometimes it's very difficult to calculate, so there will always be somebody who will help you to calculate your income correctly, because in these days, especially, actually, I was reading online that some of the churches, they have to explain their congregations how to calculate the bonuses that they receive for COVID into their tithing. It's very interesting, because they were saying, yeah, they might be tax-free, but it's still you still have to calculate it for the tithing and so forth. But at synagogues is the same. This is not an evangelical invention. It's coming from Judaism, that it used to be mandatory at the time of the temple. Once the temple was destroyed, basically it was not mandatory anymore. But the model was picked up by the rabbis as the best way to support their synagogues. So, but basically it's not mandatory anymore the way it used to be at the time of the temple. So now it's a voluntary gift that some people will give, and it's very interesting. Why the rabbis insist that it's the best way to support a synagogue, or even more so, they would say that it's the best way to go through life, giving a portion of your income towards a cause. Because basically the rationale behind is that you are going into a partnership with God, almost like a business partnership with God. In other words, it's like you say to God, look, help me help you. Okay? So, look, God, if you give me 10, I will give you back 1. But if you give me 100, I will give you back 10. But if you give me 1,000, I will give you 100. So help me helping you here. That's the rationale. And this is coming from the Torah. And the one who made a big deal out of this was Jacob. When he was escaping, remember, he was escaping Esau, and he was scared. He had nothing with him. He was going to a foreign land. So he made kind of a deal with God. And he said exactly like this to God. He said, whatever you give me, I will give you back 10%. And that's how this concept of tithing your income comes from. And then eventually in the Torah, it's going to be regulated even more so. And there's going to be different cycles. Sometimes you have to give 10%. Sometimes you have to give 10% twice. Depends on the year of the cycle. Because remember, we studied this in previous classes, that we have the cycle of 7 years that we call the sabbatical. And then we have the cycle of the Yovel, the Jubilee, that is every 50 years. So it depends on the year of the cycle that you are, is different the way you have to calculate how much you give to the temple and so forth. Okay? So, but here we have one of the gift that people will bring to the priest. But what the rabbis notice in this text that is coming from this Parsha is the language used to present this concept. Okay, the gift that you have to bring to the temple in this case is called the terumah. It's an offering, but in this case it's an offering, something that you give to the priest. So it's and this is something in I guess in English is the same thing in Hebrew. You will see what I'm talking about here, where I'm going. He said, "V'chol terumah lechol kodshei bnei Yisrael asher ikrivu lakohen lo ihyeh." Okay, and every portion from any of the holies that the children of Israel bring to the Kohen shall be his. Okay, a man's holy shall be his, and what a man gives to the Kohen shall be his. So the question is, why all this his, right? Why don't not say clearly what a man gives to the Kohen belongs to the Kohen, right? There is no string attached here. You bring it to the Kohen, belongs to the Kohen. Well, but the rabbis explained that this is a bigger concept here. And the fact that it says he, and in Hebrew is law, but law with a vav. Remember, law with an aleph is no. But law with a vav is to him. So when it says whatever you bring is his, it's not clear who the he is. It's ambiguous. Because it's almost like implying that whatever you bring to the Kohen could be also yours. In the Hebrew, it's not clear. Lo ihye, it means belongs to him. To him who? The giver or the receiver? You know what I'm going here? This is a very interesting concept. It's the fact that whatever you give away to tzedakah is what you really, really possess. Whatever you think you have in your bank account, in properties, on vehicles, investment, you think is yours, but it's not really yours. Today you have it, tomorrow who knows? It happens now with Corona, with the pandemic. Many people that they thought they have all this money in the bank, in investment, and then they check on the computer, and poof, overnight 30% is gone or more. Depends on where you had the money. So the money that you think is yours, it's not really yours. But whatever you do for others, nobody can take that away. So this is what the text is implying here. Whatever gift you bring to the temple, whatever gift you bring to the synagogue is yours. That goes to your spiritual bank account, and nobody can take away that from you. Okay? Let me read some of the comments here. It could mean God. Yeah, it's also good. That's what I mean. It's ambiguous. It means that it could mean many different things, and I believe that each one of the things is correct. So it belongs to God, it belongs to you, and it belongs to the Kohen, of course, because it's the one receiving it. But the fact that it belongs to God, belongs to the Kohen, that's all good. But it is important to realize that it also belongs to you as a reader to understand what kind of impact that those gifts, that tzedakah that you give, what kind of impact it has in your own life. It's a beautiful concept. So let me move forward here. Something that, let me read for you this story. It's beautiful. The following story is told about Rabbi Tarfon. I don't know if you ever heard about him. He's mentioned a lot in Pirkei Avot. He said he was a very wealthy, but was not in the habit of giving substantially to the poor. He was stingy. One time Rabbi Akiva said to him, "Would you like me to be your agent in buying a town or two?" "Certainly," replied Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon then brought 4,000 gold dinars, which Rabbi Akiva took and distributed to the poor. Sometime later, Rabbi Tarfon sought out Rabbi Akiva and said to him, "Where are the towns that you bought for me?" Rabbi Akiva took him by the hand and brought him to the Beit Midrash, the house of study, and brought over a child with a book of Psalms in his hand. The child read Psalm 112. "Happy is the one who fears the Lord, who is devoted to his commandments." Until he got to the verse, "He gives freely to the poor. His tzedakah lasts forever. His horn is exalted in honor." Rabbi Akiva said, "This is the property which I bought for you." Rabbi Tarfon hugged Rabbi Akiva and said, "You are my teacher and my leader. You are my teacher in wisdom and my leader in derech eretz, proper conduct." We are going to talk about derech eretz in a minute. Then Rabbi Tarfon liberally gave more money. Now, Rocky, what do you say? The Kohen holds it in trust? No. Whatever you give to the Kohen is his. It's his. It's usually food that you bring that the Kohen is going to eat with his family. Okay, so whatever you give to the Kohen, there are different things. Some things are directly for the Kohen. That's what we read here. And some of the things are specifically for the temple, for the operation. Okay, there are two different gifts that people have to bring. Yeah, good question. Thank you, Rocky, for that. Okay, so this thing that whatever you give belongs to you, there is a beautiful story that I heard once that it happened in a kingdom. Remember that it's old kingdoms. We don't have kingdoms like that anymore. In fact, it's kingdoms, kings, queens. It's a funny thing in these days because we'll still use the phrase when we pray. For example, blessed are you, God, King of the world, right? It's difficult in these days to imagine what the rabbis had in mind when they created the blessings with the expression king of the world, of king of the universe. Because in those days, they have this kind of kings that they have so much power that they could, they can do whatever they wanted to do. Nobody would say no to the king back in the day. So they kind of borrowed that concept so we can have a better image of God, a better understanding of God, that God also is a ruler who can do whatever God wants to do and nobody will stop God from doing it. Okay? So in these days, we still keep using Melech HaOlam, king of the world, king of the universe, but the image we have of a king is totally different. I don't know about you, but the only kings I know are clowns, basically, are a joke. Those are the ones who get involved in scandals and things on TV. They're almost like celebrities. So when we keep talking about king of the universe, I'm wondering what kind of image, even if sometimes we don't realize, because whenever we say something, there is always an image inside our heads. That's the way this world works. To understand something, you have to imagine it. So it's been lots of criticism in liberal movements to people still using the concept of king of the universe because the image that it triggers is not necessarily a positive one. If you want to trigger an image of authority, I understand that. That's all good. But the word king doesn't really work that way. I mean, I see my son, 6 years old, talking about kings. What kind of kings he knows? And again, the only kings he knows are probably the silly kings from the stories or the jokes that you watch on TV. But that might be something for another day. Yeah. Bye, Debbie. Have a good day. Okay, so back to the story that I heard back in the day with these kings that, the old days, the old style kings. He sent a notice to one of his servants that this servant should come immediately to the palace to respond to the king for something very serious. And this man, knowing the way the kings were in those days, was frightened. What does the king want from me now? Because if he doesn't like what I have to say, he can put me to death right away on the spot. So he was really frightened. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't want to go to the kingdom, to the palace, alone. So he remembered that he had 3 friends. But the thing is, these 3 friends were not exactly the same. One friend was this kind of friend that he will see or interact with him every single day, all the time. The second friend was a friend that he will go and visit and call him, only once in a while. And the third friend was this friend that he realized that he almost never visit. Okay? So what he did, like I guess you and I will do in that situation, he went to visit this friend that he will see every day. And to his surprise, that friend said, sorry, I cannot go with you. Boom. So, okay, I still have another two friends. So he went to visit the friend that he will see once in a while. And this friend said, okay, I'll go with you, but only until the gate of the palace. Okay, said the man, it's better than nothing. And then he didn't know what to do. He was so nervous to go to visit the third friend that he hasn't seen in a while. And to his surprise, this friend not only came with him to visit the king, but he said so many good things about this man in front of the king that the king not only forgot about whatever problem he had with this man, he put him in a special place in his kingdom. So the rabbis explain who are these three friends. And they say this friend that we visit every single day is money. You see, this is something that we engage with in this world every single day. We go, we work, we want more money, so we visit this friend every day, constantly, all the time. But whenever the king called us, whenever we go to the other world, to the Olam Haba, whenever we die, this friend will say to us, sorry, I cannot go with you. And it stays here. Who's the second friend? The one we see once in a while and the one who went up to the gate is our family. The family is the one who comes with us to the graveside, but then they go back home. They cannot come with us. And then the rabbi said, who is the third friend? The one who is actually talking to the king on your behalf? That is all the good things that we do in this world, specifically the tzedakah we give, the things we do for others, and the mitzvot we fulfill. That's the only thing that it will come with us to the other world, and that's the only thing that it will be there talking to the king, saying, look, what a great person you have in front of you. This person deserves to be in a special place in the Olam Haba. So yes, going back to our verse from the Parshat, whenever you do something for somebody else, whatever you did, of course, it will have a positive impact on the other person, but automatically belongs your asset. It goes to your spiritual bank account, and that is also yours, and nobody can take that away from you, and that is what is going to accompany you to the Olam Haba. All the material possessions, today you have them, tomorrow you don't. And eventually, the day that you leave this world, it stays behind. It won't go anywhere with you. So, very interesting concept. Now, let's go back to these things that Rabbi Tarfon said that Rabbi Akiva taught him. Because this is something very interesting. It's called the Derech Eretz. That sometimes is translated as proper conduct. Sometimes is understood as things that you should do. But most of the times, the Derech Eretz is something that what you should know that that's what you should do. I shouldn't be having to tell you that that's the way it is. You should figure it out by yourself. That's why the Derech Eretz is the way of the country, right? Because you will see pretty much in every place that countries, kingdoms, whatever, at the time that we live, they figure things out, how to do things properly so society can function. Society could be functional. So there are certain things that we should know, and they are very important for us to figure that out so we have a better society. It's just not talking about your soul, your spirit, your praying. It's about how to improve our society. So in this case, this story that we just learned, it's almost like Rabbi Akiva is telling to Rabbi Tarfon, don't you realize that giving to the poor is the proper things to do? Because it's not just that you are giving something because you will have a better place in the Olam Haba. You're doing something that is good for society. Supporting the poor is good for society. So that's something that is Derech Eretz. I shouldn't have to tell you something that you have to figure out that is the right thing to do. So let's go to the next text. I want to share with you some teachings from some rabbis about the concept of derech eretz. Any questions so far? Because I've seen that I see that the chat is almost frozen. Okay. Oh, Shelley, you asked what horn means in the context. I'm not sure. I don't think it's really important what horn means there. It's it doesn't add to the topic. Yeah, but interesting question anyway. Any other questions before we move on to the next text? I will give one a few seconds. Seeing none, we continue. Okay, this is a commentary from Pirkei Avot. So Derech Eretz includes everything that flows from the human being's necessity to perfect his destiny and his life, together with his society, through the medium of the earth's bounty. Hence, the term is used in reference to earning a livelihood and establishing civic order, and in reference to the path of discipline, with manners and refinement that social life require, and to everything that touches upon the development of humankind and civility. Yeah, you will see that there are many things that the Torah doesn't even tell us. It's almost like we should know it. We should know it. It's something that, but because it's good for, as it said here, civic order. It's good for society. So it's something that we have to figure it out. And sometimes Derech Eretz goes beyond the law, because some people could be very, they try to outsmart the law to find the loopholes. And yeah, it may still be legal, but it's not necessarily good for society. I was taught that it often refers to the other world, not Gan Eden, somewhere else. What is it, Shelley, that is the other world? I don't understand. Oh. There. Derech Eretz? No, Derech Eretz is not the other world. The other world is the Olam Haba, which is not the same. You know, Derech Eretz is specifically for this world. That's for sure. There are many. There are sometimes a little. It's not clear what exactly means, because it's a very wide concept. But it's everything that is specifically for this world is called Derech Eretz. So let's continue with the next text. Now, Rabbi Ishmael, son of Rabbi Nachman, said, Derech Eretz preceded Torah by 26 generations. This is the meaning of what is written, to guard the way of the tree of life. The way refers to Derech Eretz, afterwards said the tree of life, which is Torah. Very interesting midrash. But what the rabbis are trying to say here is, even without Torah, you should know what is good and what is bad, what is not good. You don't need to wait until somebody teach you Torah to know what is proper and what is not. Right? In fact, let me see. Oops. Let's give is in the next text, which there are many cases. For example, you will see in the book of Genesis and others that people are punished for things that they were never taught. How is that possible? Right? How come God punishes Cain for killing Abel? But nobody ever told Cain, you shall not commit murder. But God, it's almost God saying, you should have known better. Right? It's like trying to discuss with your spouse and say, can I buy this? Sure. Then you buy it. Why do you buy it? Well, you told me that I could buy it. Right? Oh, you should have known better. It's almost like that. But it's there are things that we should know better. We shouldn't wait until the Torah is revealed to figure that out. In fact, we know it. Sometimes it's that gut feeling that's telling you that something that is wrong. And yeah, so to do it anyway, it's us coming up with excuses for our behaviors, when in reality, we knew that it was wrong. So let's read another commentary about this. This rabbi says, however, upon reflection, we will see that character traits and attributes are an introduction to the Torah and the primary foundation of the essence of a person, without which a person is not worthy at all of Torah. This is very interesting. It's almost like you have to deserve Torah. What does it mean? You have to be a good person before. Okay? You have to be a good person before. There is a text, I can't remember which Hasidic Rebbe. It was explaining the concept of Anshe Kodesh, which means a person of holiness. And he was saying you cannot be holy if you are not a person first. You have to be a mensch first. And then you can start thinking about being holy. But you won't go to the second part of the phrase if you don't figure out the first one first, which is to be a person, to be a human being. Human beings in the sense of being a refined individual. Animals, which sometimes could be very cute, but they follow instincts. We human beings, we have the capacity to understand the concept of instincts and overcome instincts to do something different. So your urges will tell you to do one thing, but because you're a human being, you have the capacity to control your urges and to do something else. When you do that, then basically you are practicing derech eretz. So let's continue with this. But so when you do that, when you are a person who take the effort to control your urges, your impulses, then you deserve Torah. Then and only then you deserve Torah. You're worthy of the Torah. This is the intent of the rabbis. Derech eretz preceded the Torah by 26 generations. For all of the good character traits and attributes are included in derech eretz. They were ingrained in human nature, and for them there is no need for the giving of the Torah. In other words, we come to this world knowing what is good and what is bad. I mean, we could disagree on some things, but the basic things, we pretty much agree what is good and what is not. The giving of the Torah came to build on these traits and attributes and to command him to continue to rise heavenward to ever higher levels, transcending those which are in the realm of derech eretz. Upon reflection, we will see that this code, too, that which is referred to as derech eretz, which preceded Torah from Sinai, is a comprehensive system which encompasses the entire man. Well, what a wonderful thing to understand that there are so many things that we don't really need Torah to figure it out. We can figure things out just by looking around and by looking inside. In fact, many societies have done it without Torah. It's because it's natural to humanity to go there. Questions. Let's read the chat. Just because the Torah has been given to us doesn't mean that we deserve it. We have to earn it. Yeah, in fact, I think I mentioned this last class. We were almost like the last nation on the list to receive the Torah. I don't know if you remember that God went to so many other nations and they all rejected the Torah because they didn't want to change their lifestyle, even though they knew that they were wrong according to the Midrash. But they said, that's what we do, and we are not willing to change it. So thank you, but no thank you. We don't want the Torah. But then eventually, said the Midrash, God came to the people of Israel, and they actually accepted it. And even that, then the Midrash will say that God put, remember, Mount Sinai on top of their heads and said, if you don't accept the Torah, I will drop the mountain on top of your head and you're going to be squished. So It's very interesting. Very interesting. But in the other side, there is also the Midrash saying that all this time that went, these 49 days between the Exodus and the receiving of the Torah, was a time that this nation, that they were slaves, that they used it to kind of purify themselves and to try to be better, and that made them deserve the gift of Torah. But what seems to imply, this concept seems to imply, is that the Torah will take you to the next level, but only if you have the Derech Eretz part figured out first. After you become a mensch, a good person, a good citizen, a good neighbor, a good friend, the Torah will take you from there and it will take you to the next level. But if you don't have that foundation ready, there is nothing the Torah can do for you. There is an exercise that is personal that you have to do it before. It's like how do you say it here in English? They say the icing of the cake. If there is no cake, the icing doesn't have anywhere to sit. So the Torah is the icing, but needs the cake first, and the cake is you. You have to prepare yourself so the Torah can be built on top of you. That's what it is. Let's continue. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. You see, the Hizkuni is saying, if you will ask, why was the generation of the flood punished if they were never commanded to fulfill mitzvot? Have you ever thought about that? Right? The answer is that there are numerous mitzvot that people must keep based on logic, even if they were not commanded to keep them. Therefore, they were punished. As simple as that. They were murderers. They were robbers, rapists. And then there is no excuse to say, sorry, nobody told me that was wrong. Because come on, you knew that was wrong. Because how do you know that? Because you don't like when other people try to do that to you. So isn't that logic that other people won't like if you try to do the same to them? Come on, it's not rocket science to figure that out. That if there is something that you don't like, other people won't like it either, especially for major things, right? You don't want anybody come to kill you, so don't go and kill somebody else. What this rabbi is saying is, use your brains to understand the basic things. When you prepare yourself in that way, when you are already thinking it that way, once your logic becomes that way, then the Torah will make sense to you because it can take you from there and then develop certain other things that they are not so logic, which I would say they are all the spiritual things, that they are not evident because they are not really connected to this world. So, yeah, you can learn how to pray, how to develop a relationship with God, and all those things, but that comes after you are a good person, a functional human being. Don't start from the spiritual part. Start from the Derech Eretz and then move to the other one. Some people try to do it the other way around, and it doesn't work that way. At least that's what seems to be implied here with this text. Now, let's move on. Unless we have a question, we're going to move to another verse, so I will leave it there. Any questions? We'll give it a minute. No. Yeah, you will see myself looking one side to the other because I have two screens and I have way too many things on the screen. So I have to go from one way. Here I have my text. Here I have the chat. It's kind of looks like a tennis match, right? Like this. Okay, so let's continue with the other verse that I wanted to study with you. And this is about other fabulous texts that we find in this week's Parsha, and it's the Birkat Kohanim. It's something that we have as part of the Amidah every day in the morning service. We read it from the Amidah, especially when we do the repetition of the Amidah. That's something that the Chazan or the Davener will do. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאיר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך shalom. Something like that. There are so many different melodies for Birkat Kohanim. But it's coming from the Torah, it's coming from this Parsha, and this is the way the priests used to bless the people of Israel. And the Torah says, thus shall you bless the nation of Israel, speak unto them, may Hashem bless you and safeguard you. May He illuminate His countenance upon you and let you find grace. May He lift His countenance upon you and establish peace for you. Right? That's basically the way the priests have to bless the Jewish people. Now, there are many things that we can learn from this blessing. The first thing is how you say a blessing to another person, because there are different kind of blessings. Some is, for example, if you're about to drink something, first you say the blessing that is She'akol Niyeh Bidvaro, everything should be according to your will, right? And then you can drink it or eat something. Every food will have a different blessing. Then there are blessings that we say to God, but also there is the concept that we have the power to bless other people. This is something that we can see a lot in the book of Genesis. When the patriarchs were about to pass away, they always wanted their children in front of them so they can give them their blessing. But the blessing is something that you speak to another person. That's why it says here, thus shall you bless the nation of Israel, speak unto them. You have to speak it to another person. A blessing, for the first thing you have to understand here, is not something that you think. Oh, I have so many good thoughts about an individual. Great, but useless. Thoughts are kind of useless. What you have to do, if you have those thoughts about somebody else, go and speak those thoughts over them. If you think someone is doing a great job, you know it, you think about it, you know it, go and tell the person, may God bless your work because I think you're doing an excellent job. That's a blessing, but you have to speak it. If you have good wishes to somebody, don't think the wishes. Go and speak the wishes to them. Speech has a tremendous power. We learned this at the beginning of the Torah when God spoke and the world was created. God didn't think the world. God spoke the world and the world was created. From there we learn the power of speech. Speech can build. Speech can also be a curse. So we also curse other individuals by speaking the curse upon them. So we have to be very careful with the way we use our language, because language could be a blessing or could be a curse. In this case, we learn here that it says you have to speak to the people of Israel, speak to them, not to me. Look at them, speak to them, and say to them, may Hashem bless you and safeguard you. Sometimes we say, may God bless you and keep you, something like that. And we are going to see in a minute in another text why we need both concepts. God bless you, God keep you. Both things are important. Then what it said, may God illuminate His countenance upon you and let you find grace. And may God lift His countenance upon you and establish peace for you. Three different things that we have in this blessing. I think I call it the threefold blessing. And we are going to see why each one of these things is equally important. Rocky. So everyone is authorized by God to use words of her priestly blessings. Well, I'm not necessarily talking about the priestly blessing. In these days, yes, we use it all the time in the service, and the cantor, the rabbi, whoever is davening, is saying these words to the entire people of Israel. In this context, in the Parsha, it was at the temple, and the priest will bless this way to the people of Israel. But in these days, we all bless each other. And there are blessings that they go beyond the priestly blessings. It's something that we have to get used to, do it all the time, because we have the power to bless other people. That's what Abraham did with his children, Isaac did, and Jacob did. They all blessed others with their words. And we have to learn to do the same thing. Okay? We bless, Shelley, she said, a variation parents to child. Yeah, we bless our children every Shabbat. And I don't know if you saw on Facebook or YouTube the song that I uploaded. There is a special blessing that we say to our children on the eve of Yom Kippur. It's called the parents' blessing, but it's actually, it's known as the parents' blessing, but it's the blessing of the children. So there are so many different blessings, but a blessing is something that we learn from this parsha. It has to be spoke. You can think it. You have to say it. Bless another person as much as you can, but using your words. Sometimes we will call it words of encouragement, right? A word of encouragement to somebody else is a blessing. Have you ever thought about that? You're blessing the other person. You are using speech, the power of speech, to create something positive in another person. So let's read why each one of these concepts, the threefold, is important. Okay, Rabbi Mordechai Kamenetsky said, it is not enough to get a blessing from Hashem. Remember I said, it must be given with the assurance that it will have a practical implication. Pay attention to this. Many people receive blessings of wealth and health, right? Only to lose them to thieves and aggravation. Each of the priestly blessings is followed by a safeguard, a follow-up. This is amazing. Okay, let me finish and then we'll talk about this. A blessing of wealth alone is not enough. Hashem must guard it. Illuminating us with his countenance is not enough unless fellow humans appreciate the grace that God has given the Jews in this very corporeal world. It's a worthless gift. And of course, even if he lifts his countenance upon us, we still need the blessing of shalom, of peace. In other words, it has many different levels, many different layers. Somebody can be blessing you, but if you don't see the blessing is worthless. You can be blessed with wealth, but have you ever heard stories? In fact, I believe that there are even TV shows about this. People who won big lottery prizes, right? And everybody thought that now this person is going to have the most amazing life. And the TV crew follows up these people's life, and they realize how many cases they used to have an okay life, and now the family is destroyed. They are into drugs. They're alcoholic, and they have so many other issues. So yeah, they're wealthy, but was that a blessing or a curse? So it's not just enough just to receive the blessing. You have to make a blessing out of the blessing. So may God bless you, yes, but may God keep that blessing as a blessing. Don't make it as a curse. And it's great to receive the blessing, but it's also to have the blessing of keeping it as a blessing. That's what I'm trying to say. But the same thing is, it says, illuminating us with his countenance is not enough. So this is the same thing, right? We're asking, may you feel the presence of God in your life. Well, but if you don't take that as something positive, and you don't know how to channel that that feeling of God's presence in your life into something that is going to move you to become a happier person, an inspired person, is a worthless blessing. So yes, you feel the presence of God, but then what do you do with that? What do you do with that feeling? Because there are many people that they don't know what to do with that. Remind me to the story when the Israelites, they received the Torah. The rabbis explained that when God was revealing the Ten Commandments, they actually heard only the first two directly from God. And then they say to God, stop talking. We can't handle this. This is too much for us. Let Moses be the one from now on, the intermediary between you and us. And they missed the opportunity to be connected, to go to a higher level, because they didn't know what to do with that. So yes, it is important to wish that may the presence of God be present in your life, but it's also important for you to know what to do with that. And it is also part of the blessing. And the other thing is, yes, you see the last one, what it says, may God lift his countenance upon you. Everything is fine, but if you don't find peace in your life, if you don't have peace, then everything is worthless. And I mentioned this many times in the past. I believe the key to find peace is to learn to live with imperfections. If you always aim for everything to be perfect in your life and you cannot find happiness until that day comes, then every other blessing you have in your life is never going to be enjoyed. So that's why it fins with peace, which is shalom, but it's also a reminder, right? That is shalom and not shalem. Because shalem means complete. And if you try that everything has to be complete, everything has to be perfect, you're not going to find shalom. We see this when God makes this covenant of peace with Pinchas. Remember Pinchas the priest. This is the only covenant of peace that came from heaven. And the word shalom in the Torah is written with a broken vav. One of the letters of the word shalom is broken. It's like there is a little bit of ink missing in the middle. Why? Because the only way to find shalom is to learn how to live with imperfection, knowing that sometimes there are going to be things missing. But that's okay. You don't have to have everything in order to have peace. Remember the story of Haman on Purim and how he had almost everything. The only thing that he didn't have was the fact that Mordecai wouldn't bow down to him. And he was miserable. And then you read the story and say, how is that possible? How can that guy be miserable? He had everything. Wealth, family, friends, power. Oh, but one person didn't bow down to him and now he's miserable. So you see, was he really blessed? No. Because he couldn't appreciate the blessing because one thing was missing. And that's why that's the end of the Birkat Kohanim. Aim for shalom, not for shalem. One more text. All of the priestly blessings are phrased in the singular. They are addressed to each individual separately. How then can the last blessing speak of peace? Isn't peace a collective concept? Peace between nations, peace between neighbors, etc. A Jew is commanded to love Hashem with all his heart, with all his soul. But man has other interests, and his organs are at war with each other. Some want to love and serve Hashem, while others may not. You see, this is a battle inside ourselves. How can man win this war? Our sages teach that one who wants to purify himself receives divine assistance. See, everything starts with a desire. If you desire to do something and you make the step, you make the first step, then and only then God will come to help you. This is the meaning of the blessing that the Kohanim utter. May God establish peace for you within you. You see, we have so many great dreams for the world. But if you don't start for yourself, you will never be able to contribute towards the world's peace if you are not at peace with ourselves first. That's why the first, the singular phrasing of this blessing. Okay, any questions? Well, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. It was great to have an opportunity to teach you. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, we gather every week at noon. We may not have class next Thursday. I have to confirm that. So stay tuned for announcement. Okay? And hope to see you soon. In Manitoba, we are in phase 2 of opening the province, but please stay safe. Stay safe so we can safely move to phase 3 eventually, but we all have to be smart and take care of ourselves and to each other. Okay? Have a wonderful day. God bless you and hope to see you soon. Bye now.